When we talk about what intersectionality is, I like to borrow it from the work of Kimberly Crenshaw, who's a law professor. She coined this phrase in the late 80s. She used it primarily looking at gender differences and women's rights, and it has since, over the last couple of years, been expanded to include all kinds of things. But what I like about it is its root sort of notion around intersectionality as a complex coexistence of factors that describe how our overlapping or intersecting social identities relate to societal and institutional systems and structures. So, systems and structures, institutional systems and structures, that's the ecosystem that we were talking about at the top of our time together. And all of those get impacted by our identity. And it's not just the identity we give ourselves, it's also the identity labels that other people give to us, whether or not that's how we identify ourselves or not. So, our last exercise, we're not going to go into a room, but I want you to take your piece of paper and maybe just flip it over if you've still got it with the human body silhouette. And I'm going to invite you to draw a circle in the center. You can either put your name or the word me, like you see here. And then around it, draw 6 circles. Draw the circles large enough that you can write a word or a phrase into them. So, I'll give you a few seconds to do that. And after you draw the circles, I'm going to invite you in those 6 circles to insert into them a word or phrase that describes your identity, whatever that means to you. How do you show up in the world? How do you identify yourself? So go ahead and fill those in for yourself. And as you finish that, I know some are still filling them in. I want you to reflect on these statements, looking at your identities. Try and kind of think about these. You might even on the piece of paper with your identity circles, even put, 1 through 6 in some words that kind of reflect what identity is related to these specific numbers. Okay, I'm going to give us about 60 more seconds before we just kind of open it up for conversation in our last few minutes. All right. I'm going to invite us to pause where we are, appreciating that there's probably more sort of reflection um, that could take place for these last two pieces. And I invite you to bring that with you offline to continue the self exploration. Um, and this is just simply part of the journey, the human journey. How do we become more aware? How do we cultivate the nature and quality of our presence and our impact with intention, with eyes wide open, and with continuous kind of curiosity and assessment and reassessment, and self compassion and compassion for others? Because none of this is easy. I always say this is simple but not easy, but it's so worth it. There is a saying at a local running shoe store. It's called the Running Store, I think. And it says, I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. I'm telling you it's going to be worth it. And that's how I feel about this work and why it's so important because, quite frankly, what happens to one of us happens to all of us.